Hello guys, welcome to the course of Level 8 API Development Tutorial. This is our part number 38. Inside this video, we will create Login API. If I back to editor, in the last video, we had created Register API as well as inside this database, we had created two different users. Now this time, we are going to create Login API. So while logging any user to this system, we need the email address and the password. Back to editor, go inside login method. So while getting all the data, the first step will do all about our input validation. Now next, we need to verify the user, so verify user. Next, we will generate token and finally we will send response. So these are the steps we need to cover inside this login API method. So first of all, for this validation, and one more thing, we can merge these two steps like verify user and token. So inside this validation, let's request, we will use validate method. Inside this validate method, as we had discussed that we need the email value and the password value. The email value should be required and also it should be a valid email address. So I will copy this required rule, go inside this password and pasting it here. So all we have done with the validation. Now next, we need to verify user, and also after verifying the correct user, we need to generate JWT token. To verify user with the valid email address and the password, we will use auth helper function. So go here, let's auth. We will use attempt method. Inside this attempt method, we need to pass the credentials. So here we will pass the email value, and the email value will get inside this request instance and email property. Now next, we need to pass password. So we will get password inside this request instance with password property if I enabled toggle word wrap. So inside this auth helper function, we have attempt method. Inside this attempt method, we are passing user credentials like email address and the password. If suppose it is going to return a valid value, it means the user exists on the behalf of this email and the password, then this will return JWT token. Otherwise, it will return the false value. So what I will do, simply I will store the return value inside this token variable. And one more thing, I will wrap this value inside this if block. If I cut this line, making an if block, pasting it here, so let's say that for the first time we are passing this email address is something different and password is something different. It means we are not passing valid user details. So in that situation, it will return the false value. So we will put here the not symbol which converts a false value to true value. And in that situation, we need to return a response. Let's response JSON, creating an array. Let's say status equals to 0 and message, let's say that user or simply invalid credentials. Now this is the response we will get when we will pass invalid user details. And if in case we are passing a valid email address and the password, it means the user exists in our database. So in that situation, it will return a token value. So here the return token value we are storing inside this token variable. So simply go inside this response, let's return response into JSON format, creating an array. Let's say status equals to 1, message logged in successfully. And finally, let's say token, or simply we can call it as access underscore token, and the token value we have stored inside this token variable. All we have done here, we have done the validation. Here we are verifying user and storing token inside this variable and simply sending response here. Back to Postman. Copy this route, open into a new tab, post request type, go to headers, let's say content type, it's not content length, content type, application JSON, go inside this and type accept, application JSON, body, select raw, we need to pass the email address and the value, so email. For now, let's pass empty value to check our validation. Click on send button, and as we can see that we are getting validation error, and I think that this register API, because we are getting the error messages as name, email, phone number, password. So here we need to change the URL, so instead of register, this is login. Now if I press send button, and here we are getting the error messages for this email address and the password. So in the first case, I will pass the invalid email address. This is correct email address what we have inside database, but the password is something different. Pressing send button, and as we can see that we are getting the error message as invalid credentials. But when we pass the correct details, let's say password is from 1 to 6, email address is the correct value, click on send button, and here you can see that status equals to 1, logged in successfully, and here we have the JWT token value. If I copy this token value, so I will copy back to browser and open up the tool called JWT.io, go inside this debugger, and here we have the sample JWT token, so I will remove and paste our token. So here we can see that inside this token, the first part what we had discussed is all about header, which is containing the type and algorithm. Now next, this is the second part. Inside this we have the information as issuer, issuer at, expiration, not before, means all these details, and the final one we have the signature. So this is all about, guys, login API. So successfully now we have done the login section. In the next video we will work for this profile API. So for this video session, guys, thank you for watching and have a great day.